Apparently, and I guess we know this, but it's not something we necessarily think of when it comes to illegal immigration. There are illegals in this country that have been told for years they need to leave and they haven't. So, what are we doing with them? This is from the Wall Street Journal, and they were reporting on something that I guess I had questions about, but I never really knew definitively. Now, there are so many different factions of illegal immigrants, people who have come across the border illegally, people that have overstayed visas, people that have been here for a long time and been told to leave and they just haven't. Well, what do we do with those people? That's what I was fascinated about. Apparently, and I guess we know this, but it's not something we necessarily think of when it comes to illegal immigration. There are illegals in this country that have been told for years they need to leave and they haven't. So what are we doing with them? Well, the Wall Street Journal points out, well, we're fining them. Thank goodness. The Trump administration coming into the White House again in the second term has now started to issue fines, including retroactively to people who have been in the country illegally, been told to leave, and haven't. Well, how much are those fines? They're almost $1,000 a day, and they can date back retroactively for 5 years. In other words, if you do all the math on that, it can get up to $1.8 million for somebody being fined for being in the country, being told to leave, and not doing so. Now, it's interesting. The people on the other side of this are saying, well, how do you expect them to pay this? They're not financially able to pay these ridiculously high fines. To which I say, well, yeah, I don't really expect them to be. I don't think illegal immigrants who are told to leave but haven't are hedge fund managers or CEOs of tech companies. I think the point is exactly the point that they're trying to make. Well, they can't pay these. They might just have to leave. Yeah, that's the whole point. DHS has also said you still get the $1,000. Not only does your fine get waived, I don't necessarily know if it gets waived. I just think if you go back to Nicaragua, there's no enforcement mechanism that's going to make you pay your $1.8 million fine. But even then, you still get the $1,000 to self-deport. All in all, I didn't know that this was happening, but now that I know, it turns out that this is what I voted for, and just happens to be a happy circumstance of what I did vote for last year. Here to comment on that and so much more is Clayton Burton, political commentator, and Jacqueline Harn, the chair of the Georgia Young Republicans. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Happy to be on.
Thank you. Jacqueline, I want to start with you. So what is, I don't know, let me rephrase that because I realize I'm going to ask you a question that's going to be way too expansive for you to answer in a minute-long time. I don't know, how welcome is this to you to be knowing that there's so many different factions of illegals coming in, and finally there is actually something being done about the less talked about people who are here illegally, been told to leave, and just stayed the course? Why is this? I don't know. What do you think of this overall fining process?
Well, in all honesty, I never figured that ICE would be the ones that give us a solution for actually chipping away at our national debt, like actually collecting $1.8 million. That'd be fantastic. But no, I mean, 100% this is a scare tactic because at the end of the day, we've been paying for these illegal aliens to actually be residing on our soil. And by we, I mean taxpayers. And so, yeah, I think it's very generous to even offer the $1,000 for you to be on your way and figure out, hey, you either listen to the law or you have to pay up. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it really doesn't seem too complicated. Clayton, I thought this was interesting. The Wall Street Journal has been a conservative newspaper, but they've gotten really squishy in the last couple of years. So they decided to give some anecdotes too. They said in this, a restaurant worker in Brooklyn who was ordered to leave by a judge in 1989 received a $1.8 million fine in June, and the attorney for that person is saying, how are they supposed to pay this? Again, that's not the point. The point is you were told to leave 25 years ago and you didn't. What the heck is going on there? Do you think the sob stories are going to do much in terms of getting people to say, I don't know, they're fine, let them stay? Or is it just emboldening folks to go, yeah, get out of the country?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing with like the separating families, right? They want the sob story of, oh, well, you're going to bring up these families. Well, they put themselves in that situation to begin with. And I think Jacqueline hit the nail right on the head with the taxes. And I mean, it's back pay of taxes. I mean, it sounds like a pretty good deal, and they get $1,000. I mean, this has all been coming out of taxpayer money, right? And the national deficit is astronomical. So if anything, it's solving that. And I didn't see ICE being the one that solved it either, but apparently they are.
Yeah, they calculated all of the different fines. Apparently, ICE has issued a little bit more than 21,000 fines, and all the numbers added together, I think, adds to like $6.1 billion, which is a crazy number. But again, I don't know that we're necessarily going to get any of that back. But if it culminates in them leaving the country, sounds like a good plan.